Hello, my name is Bhavin Shah, and today we'll talk about how you can deploy a highly available Cassandra database on a VMware Tanzu Kubernetes cluster running Portworx as the Kubernetes storage platform. In this demo, we already have a 5-node TKG cluster that's up and running Kubernetes version 1.19.7, and Portworx has already been deployed on this TKG cluster. Here we'll look at a couple of basic commands to make sure that everything looks good. So we do a kubectl get nodes and ensure that all the nodes are up and running. We'll do a kubectl get pods in all namespaces to ensure that all the control plane components for TKG and for Portworx are up and running and ready to go. We'll start the Cassandra deployment by deploying the Cassandra operator, which is part of the Cassandra GitHub project. So this basically deploys a new namespace, all the cluster roles and role bindings that are needed by the Cassandra operator, and it deploys pods using the deployment construct. If we do a get all on the new namespace, which is the Cass operator, you will see that it has one pod, a couple of services, a deployment, and a replica set created. Now that the Cassandra operator is up and running, we are ready to move on to the next step, which is deploying the storage class for Portworx that Cassandra can use. Here we have defined a simple storage class which has a replication factor of 2 and an IO priority set to high. This means that whenever Cassandra dynamically provisions or requests for a persistent volume, it will create a persistent volume, but on the Portworx layer, it will have 2 replicas for in each persistent volume. We can do a kubectl apply and deploy and provision the storage class. And if we do a kubectl get storage class, we'll see that the new storage class is just being provisioned. Now that we have the storage class ready to go, we'll deploy a Cassandra database instance. Here we'll define it such that it has 4 nodes as part of the cluster, and each node needs or will have a 10 gig persistent volume attached to it. So we'll apply this YAML file and run it against the Cass operator namespace to deploy the Cassandra database. As part of the deployment, it deploys 4 pods with multiple containers in each pod. If we do a get pods to look at the status, you will see that it's slowly coming online, all the 4 nodes. Each Cassandra pod has an init container which performs some initial tasks, and then that's followed by the actual Cassandra instance deployment. As you can see, each Cassandra pod already provisioned and attached a persistent volume from the Portworx storage class and is ready to go. Let's check back and see if the pods are online right now. As you can see, they're still in the initial phase. So we'll navigate to the vCenter user interface to look at some other things while Cassandra is getting deployed. So if we navigate to vCenter, we can go to the workload management tab in the vCenter user interface, where we'll see our PX test namespace. And namespace is just a construct that helps assign specific resources to individual developers or individual development teams. Here you can see we have 2 TKG clusters running. Again, these are just a test and a demo cluster with 3 and 5 worker nodes respectively, running version 1.19.7. As part of the virtual machines that are part of the TKG cluster, you will see that it includes all the control plane and worker nodes, part of both the clusters that I have in my namespace. From a storage perspective, since I'm using Portworx, all the drives that are provisioned for Portworx using the VMware CSI plugin show up under the persistent volume claim section. Next, let's switch to Octant as the user interface to monitor our Cassandra installation. So we'll navigate to the Cass operator namespace, and you can look at all the different Kubernetes objects using Octant. So you can look at the overview and get a summary of the deployments, pods, replica sets, stateful sets that you have running in your namespace. As you can see, we are still 1 out of 2 for a couple of pods for Cassandra. We can navigate to deployments, see the Cassandra operator deployment. We'll navigate to the pods and we'll see the Cassandra operator pod and the other 4 pods that are spun up for the Cassandra instance. We can navigate to stateful sets and monitor the stateful set right from there. This makes it easy for operators who are not very familiar with Kubernetes CLI to manage applications from a user interface based UI based interface. So as you can see, it has an init container and then the container Cassandra, system log, server system logger as the two containers that run after the init container is done its job. Next, let's go to services and see all the different services that are deployed for my Cassandra instance. I can also navigate and look at all the persistent volumes that are being provisioned. So we'll see all the four 10 gig persistent volumes that were provisioned for our Cassandra instance. These are read-write ones and provisioned on the Portworx SC storage class. Now let's run a couple of commands just to see if the Cassandra cluster is up and running or not. So all the pods are up and running, 2 out of 2. That looks good. Next, let's look at a get data center. Since this is deployed using the Cassandra operator, you will see a status of ready once everything looks good. And just to verify, we'll exec into one of the pods and do a node tool status command, which is a standard command for Cassandra users. Here, you'll see that all the 4 nodes are UN status, which means it's up and it's normal. So UN for all the 4 nodes, which means the cluster ring is completely up and online and is ready for your application to use. Next, let's exec into one of the Portworx pods and inspect or list all the different volumes that are provisioned for Cassandra. So the reason we are execing into the Portworx pod is because we already ship with the pxctl or pxctl utility. So you can just do an opt pwx bin pxctl, if I can type, pxctl status. This shows that we have our 5 node HCI deployment of Portworx on TKG, and then we'll do a volume list command. Here it shows that all the 4 volumes provision size of 10 gig have HA, which means it has 2 replicas. It doesn't have encrypted volumes because I didn't configure that as part of the storage class, and the IO priority is high. It also shows which node in the TKG worker nodes this particular volume is attached to. This will be important when we talk about failover. So before we do the failover operation, let's add a couple of entries into the Cassandra database just to make sure that we can, when we do a failover operation, our data remains intact. So we'll fetch the Cassandra username and password. Since this is the K8 Sandra deployment, it doesn't use the default Cassandra username and password. You have to fetch it using the kubectl command. Once you have it, you can use the ccql sh utility and log in using the username and password, and we'll create a namespace, we'll create a new key space, use that key space, and then we'll create a new table, just a simple employee table with a primary key, the name of the employee, the location, and the salary. Again, we just have some placeholder entries created right now. So we have one entry for Steve, who's in Denver, Brian, who's in San Jose, and we'll create one more in New York for Eric. And again, we can create as many entries, but I just wanted to have a couple just to show you that we had a table, we failed over, and everything still remains intact. So if we do a select star from the employee table, you'll see that we have the 3 entries ready to go. Now let's do the failover operation. So here we'll check a few things and then perform failover on a specific node. So by doing a kubectl get nodes and get pods, we find out that our STS1 pod, Cassandra first -1 pod, is running on the node or the TKG worker node .87. If we look at our the Portworx volume that's attached to the pod, we'll do a list and find out that it has a local replica that's mounted to the pod, and this is because of the Stork utility or storage orchestrator for Kubernetes utility from Portworx, and this will make sure that there's always data locality. So if the pod is running on 87, the replica will be created on 87 and attached to it. Now let's cordon off the node so there's no scheduling for the 87 node, and we'll delete the STS-1 Cassandra pod so that it gets provisioned again and attaches to the original pod. So we'll delete the pod, and while Kubernetes is working on rescheduling it on a different node in the cluster, Stork, working with Kubernetes, will ensure that the pod is provisioned on a node which already has the second replica for the volume that was originally attached to the STS-1 pod. So let's do a get pods and make sure that everything comes online from a compute perspective. So we have STS-1, which is 1 out of 2 right now. It will take a couple of minutes for it to be fully functional. Not even a couple of minutes. If you look at it, it's just like a few seconds. Then we'll get where it was provisioned, like more information. So it moved from 87 to 84. And let's do get PVC to look at the PVC ID or the volume ID for the PVC. So it ends in 309E. And now let's exec into the Portworx pod again and do a volume list. So if you look at the 309E pod, PVC or volume, it is up and attached on the .84 node, which is to make sure that our Cassandra pod has data locality and it can read and write data in a highly performant manner. So this proves that even when pods are getting rescheduled, Portworx will ensure that there is data locality and it gets provisioned in such a way that it is always on the pod is running on the same node as the persistent volume. Let's log into the STS-1 pod and use the select star from employee command again to make sure that everything is the way we want it to be. So we log in using the same kubectl exec command, provided our username and password. We will use DemoDB and we'll use a simple select star from emp. We should see all the 3 entries that we had originally created as is, because even if the pod was rescheduled, the persistent volume was still there. We'll exit out of it, and that's it for the failover part of this demo. Next, let's talk about scale out operations when it comes to Cassandra. One of the key benefits of Cassandra is the linear or horizontal scalability. You can just add more nodes if you want to scale out your database or if you want to increase the performance. So this is an operation we'll do using the Octant user interface. So we'll navigate to our stateful set inside our CAS operator namespace. We'll navigate to the YAML tab, which lists the entire configuration file for the stateful set, and we'll find the spec section. Here, as you can see, we have 4 different replicas that were provisioned as part of day 0 operation. We'll just increase it to 5 and hit update. This basically means that I'm adding one more node to the Cassandra database instance. This will provision a new pod, provision a new persistent volume on the backend. Portworx will ensure that it has 2 replicas for that persistent volume. And once everything looks good, we'll do a node tool status just to make sure that the new node is part of the cluster right now. You can see that we have the 5th node that's still coming online. It's DN, but eventually it will get there and be a part of the Cassandra cluster. Just to make sure that the persistent volume was provisioned correctly, we'll do a get PVC. And that's it. That's how easy it is to scale out a Cassandra instance running on Kubernetes. That's it for this demo. Thank you for watching.